Episode 175 of the Wilderness Podcast is brought to you by our supporters. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/thewilderness-podcast. So I want to welcome Aldo P, Xax, D-Claude, and Karma501 for joining the Patreon crew this week. And of course, I want to dedicate this episode to Mr. Ted's. This episode is also dedicated to our elite supporters: Aiden A, Gentinu, Grunkle G, Spleemo, and Aldo P. So thank you so much, guys, for your support. Really do appreciate it. But hey, if Patreon's not your thing, that's quite all right. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz instead to do a one-time donation. So I want to thank Timbuk225. So much coffee coming from you. Thank you so much. Dr. Feelgood or Mistborn, One Big PP, Feminlet, Mr. Showers, Rowdy Pickle, God of Thunder, Grunkle G, and Salamander, who I bumped into doing, I think we were doing blood runes, right? Doing some rune crafting, or Shooting Star, I think, popped up there. Whatever. Guys, thank you so much for all the love and support. I really, really do appreciate it. Welcome to episode 175 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am your host, Dilz, and joining with me today is, we got the trio here, Heartless and Magpies. How's it going, guys?
Hell yeah, what's up? Good to be back.
It's been a while since we've had the three of us on.
It has, and that means we're going to have to start things off talking about some of the hard modes that may or may not be coming into the game. Of course, we've also had a bingo event that just wrapped up a few days ago, and as far as news goes, they dropped the Kingdom Divided trailer on us. They actually have a trailer for this one and some more information about what to expect. So that's kind of cool. It's pretty exciting stuff. So let's just get right into it. Magpies, how are things going? You said you were a little bit sick recently.
Like, we discussed this off air, obviously, but I want to apologize if I haven't been available for the podcast. I think I messaged you a couple weeks ago. Basically, I had my finals. During my finals, like, as I was taking my finals, I tested positive for COVID. Yeah, that wasn't fun. I'm pretty sure, ironically, I'm pretty sure I got it at the vaccination clinic when I went to get my first dose.
Oh, boy.
So
it's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then after that, I did my finals. I cleared isolation, and then I took my second dose recently, and that thing knocked me out like cold. That thing kicked my ass. I got extreme chills. My fever, like my temperature was at 104 at one point. It was horrible. It was like a necessary evil, but it still was not fun, definitely.
That is crazy. Are you feeling better now?
Yeah. I'm better now. It's only been a couple of days since I got, like, as of yesterday, I still couldn't get out of bed, but today was the first day I'm able to get out of bed.
And here you are recording.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I missed so many episodes, but hopefully, we are back on the grind soon.
Yeah, as long as you're feeling better now. I had a friend who was kind of like, because where I live in Ontario, and it's like, oh my God, like, we can't get our shit together. Like, I can't even register for my first vaccine for like another 2 weeks. And then after that, I got to wait. I'll be on a list of like hundreds of thousands of people that'll be in front of me. And that's just for the first dose. Like, I have like my in-laws, they have to wait until August for their second dose, and they're like in their 60s. So we're still in like full on lockdown here in Ontario. It's like, oh, it's crazy. But I had a buddy who was kind of like always complaining about the lockdowns, and then he got hit with COVID, and he was like sick as a dog for like 2 weeks. And it's crazy. He totally turned around, and now he's like super like, no more social gatherings. Like, he's super intense about it now because his whole family got hit with it, and they were all like bedridden. So it can be hectic.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear you're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I was super big on social distancing. I would only go out pretty much to the gym, where I would pretty much, I mean, sometimes I would play pickup basketball, but pretty much everyone there is vaccinated. I was the only person who had yet to be vaccinated, and then I went to get my first dose, and like I'm 99% sure that's where I got my positive, that's where I caught COVID, or either that or it flagged as a false positive because I got the first dose. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I developed like
True.
the side effects of the vaccine, and then afterwards I went to test and tested positive because I still had like the antibodies or whatever that it creates. I'm still not sure yet, but yeah, it was definitely not fun.
That doesn't sound like fun. Yeah, I'm just. Oh man, it's crazy. I'm gonna be. I'll be happy no matter what your stance is. I think we'll all be happy when all this shit is finally over with. It's
Yeah.
it's madness. All right. I guess what do you guys want to start off with? We had bingo recently. I know Magpies, you weren't able to participate because you've with everything going on, but we had just wrapped it up. Heartless. This is the third event you guys put on. So I mean, a quick shout out to you and Weiss for really putting this event together. And then we have some event managers in our Discord. So again, I know they all helped out a bit as well. But you guys seem to put on a really good job. This is the third bingo event.
Yeah, we've definitely been learning every time we do bingo. So the first time was more like a trial. We had maybe 20 people involved. So a third. This time we had 60, which is pretty wild. Yeah, no, it's been really good. There was no complaints this time, really. I mean, when you have 60 people, I just balance the teams myself because I know a lot of the players and know kind of what they're capable of. And RuneScape's such a hard thing. It's hard to just use like raw numbers, like who plays the most, because it involves like who has good gear, who has PvM experience, etc.
Yeah.
So I think we did pretty good. The team seemed to be reasonably fair, especially with 10 people. The thing we were excited about this time was even if one or two players don't show up on your team, especially if we haven't really heard of them before, then you're not like going to be too far behind because you're only losing like 10% of your team instead of when they're 5-man teams, you're losing 20% of your team. It's really devastating.
Yeah, true.
So every team had about one player who wasn't there, but that's kind of expected when you have 60 plus people sign up for an event.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's I think the turnout seemed like pretty good, and I was kind of following all the teams. I wasn't participating, but I was doing like little announcements and all this stuff so people can get kind of an idea what other teams are up to. But I was surprised by how close the points were because, it's a point system. You get points for each tile. And then if you complete full lines, you get bonus points. And the teams were like, some teams were 1 or 2 points off from each other. And it was so close.
Yeah, so Team 4 ended up winning in the end, I believe. But it was close. Like my team completed all but 4 of the tiles. I think Team 1 completed all but 3 of the tiles. Same with Team 2. So it was really, really close for sure. Definitely was a fun experience. It was hard for me and Weez when we made the board together and we weren't really sure with 10 people because we basically doubled the amount of people per team. We weren't sure how easy or hard it was going to be, especially since you had a really wide variety of players. So I feel like it ended up working out. Next time we probably crank the difficulty up a little bit more. And there's some pretty simple ways to do that without changing the content too much. So like, for example, we had Cerberus unique, but we could make it so that you have to get like one of the crystals.
True.
For example. Yeah, there's lots of different ways we could play with it. But it was a really fun event, man. Like so many people just make so much money during bingo.
Oh, man.
And I'm not even talking about just the prize pool, which was like, close to 300 mil. We're talking like people just because a week of 60 people PvMing, there's always pets. I think there were 4 or 5 pets dropped this time.
There was a pet within the first 45 minutes of the event.
I know, it was insane. My favorite pet that I saw someone get was the Zammy one.
Oh wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, someone got Krill with like 30 KC, which is just absurd.
Yeah, the God Wars pets are super cool to see, especially out in the wild. Like, you see like a couple of Bandos ones, but really Krill and Sarah are my 2 favorite ones.
I would say Krill is much at all. Essentially an iron. It's one of those Iron Man pets like that, and Sire, like those are bosses that Irons kind of have to grind. So those typically them or pet hunters are the only people you ever see with Krill pets. So it's a sick one for sure. So I super ups to the guy who got that. But I think everyone really had a good time. So there's not too many complaints. This is certainly some things we can fix for next time.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of like with Deadman mode and with Jagex, how like when they were doing Deadman mode every time they were doing these little changes to try to make things better. I mean, they kind of failed in a way because it kind of always missed the mark. Bingo's a lot easier. You have less variables, but like, yeah, there's little things I think for each bingo we'll probably improve on just to,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think 3 a year seems to be like the right amount of time. So the next one will likely be last week or 2 of August is when we'll run the next bingo. So if anyone wants to keep their eye on its schedule, that's about the best time.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it was really cool. And then on Friday we had a bit of a closing ceremonies where, that's when all the teams stopped their grinding because the event was over. We had a little bit of a fashion scape, had a bunch of people turn out for that. And then we moved on to Castle Wars just to kind of screw around in there. And I mean, I forgot how much fun Castle Wars was.
It's so fun, yeah.
It is. It's
Castle
good.
Wars with only items you'd gotten from bingo. And of course I pulled the Din's Bulwark from Chambers.
Hell yeah.
It's pretty fun to run around with a Dinny B.
Most people were using the bronze pickaxes you get straight from Castle Wars.
I know. It's funny. Eventually, Raichu had an Avernic, I think, and like a bronze pickaxe. Eventually stopped chasing. It was a fun little game. It's not very often we get to play that. So
yeah, it's fun. I think that's what makes RuneScape so much more fun, that you can do, like, there's so much room for these type of social events where it's like, it's our own game within a game. It's
nice to get in and do some group content too. I hopped on my main a little bit and tanked for some people on my team when we went to Zami, and we were like world hopping, killing him really quickly. It was really fun.
That's sick.
Just a bunch of different stuff that you get to do during bingo, and you get to like sort of get into bossing that you never would really try because you're excited to get it. So yeah, it was good times. I ended up killing about 150 Callisto, going for the Wilderness Ring for our team, which is one of the hardest tiles. And I think every team kind of struggled with it.
Yeah.
Except the winning team who got a 1 KC Ring of the Gods.
Oh, that's insane.
Shout out to Zran, who just got insanely lucky and pulled a huge amount of points for her team there.
That's crazy.
That was pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
It was a good event. No complaints from my end for sure.
Perfect. Well, anything else you want to mention before we move on to some other stuff?
Yeah, I got a Blade of Saildor the week before bingo started.
Oh, is that
nice?
62 KC. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
No more Abyssal Whip grinds.
Yeah, I was like very vocal that I was almost about out of whips, so I decided I would sort of chill and do Gauntlet when I had some downtime while I'm going for the Elite Diary cape, like finishing all the diaries. So I ended up getting it on like 60 something KC, just criminally low. It was good content though. I enjoyed it. It's definitely getting a lot better. It teaches you a lot about the game, Corrupted Gauntlet. I don't know if Magpies you'd agree with me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's a really good like PvM trainer. Teaches you basically the idea of having to kill the boss before the boss kills you, because it's generally just a DPS check.
Mm-hmm. Plus, like, really, really, like, niche movements, too. Like, you really have to be precise with your movements. So it's like Zulrah plus being on, like, even more, like, moving around while you're killing it. So it sort of adds an extra layer to the sort of standard PvM, and it's really, really nice. So it's nice to have the blade, and it's like a best in slot melee weapon up there with the rapier. So
yeah, it's super cool.
I've been tobbing a ton, too. Still pretty dry, but it's been fun. I don't think there's many more updates. I got a Pharaoh Scepter and another Dragon Pickaxe during bingo, but
nice.
nothing too exciting, you know.
Get those ornament kits going.
Exactly.
So
I actually did put a Smoldering Stone on it, so just for the
Nice.
fashion. Yeah.
Now before I want to get you guys' opinion. Last week I talked about some of the hard modes that we're gonna get, but so I want to hear your guys' opinions on that because it seems fairly controversial. But before we do, I just have one quick little update with my account. I wasn't even going to mention it, but then I kind of jumped into it yesterday, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I've been doing some Wilderness Slayer on my account just because it's a different change of pace. It's just it's different, and it's fun. So I've just been kind of working on that, just bouncing between a bunch of different tasks, some Scorpia, some Callisto. But I got a Revenant task to go kill Revs in the Rev Caves. And I haven't been there since they did like the huge rework, whenever the hell that was, like a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. So they changed the whole Revs caves. They changed So you need to pay 100K to enter the Revs caves. I think it's maybe once every time you die, or maybe it's once in general. But I know you pay it once, and then I was there a few times, and I didn't have to pay again. But when I was there, yeah, they changed it a whole bunch. One, it's not multi-combat anymore. It's like singles plus this new like it's like in between singles and multi-combat, which is kind of interesting. But what stood out a lot,
isn't it just that PKers can PJ you off monsters?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what it is. But what's crazy to me is like the drop tables have been nerfed like crazy. Like they're not great money. At least they're not nowhere near as what they used to be. That was
right. They're
pretty surprising.
Spread out now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're spread out a bunch too. And it was when I went there, I saw nobody there. I did end up getting PK'd, but I that was the only time I ever bumped into people. I never saw anyone, except for the one time some people showed up to kill me. But I was just surprised by how non-active that place is anymore, because that place used to be always busy. And what would happen is like you'd have a ton of people in these Rev caves, and then a clan would come up. They'd clear out everyone in there by just killing them, and then they would hop worlds and keep doing that, trying to get a bunch of good loot. And it's not like that at all, unless I was just unlucky. But I was there on a Saturday evening, and I saw like nobody. So it was very crazy to see how different
I feel like
it
the
is.
wilderness in general is just dead though. Like the 150 Callisto I did, I like didn't see really anyone. Maybe a PK every half hour. I did see Spark Mackie actually.
Oh yeah, I saw your photo.
Yeah, he was PKing on normals, but I ended up getting away from him.
Yeah, so it is quite hectic, but yeah, just one thing I noticed, and it kind of threw me off when I was there. I was excited to get a Rev task, and then I went there, and I was more excited when there was nobody there. But
would you recommend doing your Rev tasks if you're doing Wildy Slayer, or no?
I think I would, because like I still walked away with some fair money, but it just wasn't great like it used to be. I think I would, because I bumped into one group of PKers once. It was just 2 people, and I was also killing the dragon, which is the highest level Rev, which drops the most loot, and it's in like 37 wilderness, so like you have to run to teleport. But there's so many other things you can kill that are in sub 30, which is way safer to do. You can easily just teleport as soon as you see somebody.
True.
So I think that's might be the way to do it.
Yeah, like the orc and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm thinking, because I've been doing quite a bit of Wildy Slayer.
Yeah, there's definitely easy ways to do it without putting yourself in crazy danger. And like the fact that I saw nobody there, like I hope I get more tasks like that, because yeah, that's pretty
The thing
wild.
about sub 30 Wildy Slayer is basically PKers have to teleblock you, which means they can't bring ancients, which means your chance of dying drops significantly.
Yeah,
I noticed that like really you only die in deep Wildy when people can actually freeze you, and even then, they have to get lucky with freezes to actually get you.
Yeah, I see that with Venenatus a lot when I'm there. Like, they have to teleblock you to get out. And there's been a bunch of times where you just move into singles, and they might be able to catch you with freezes a bunch, but normally you can kind of wait out the teleblock. Because I think it's like 3 minutes, I think. Something like that.
It's 5 minutes, yeah.
It's 5 minutes? Okay, well, somehow I've been able to tank teams for like 5 minutes, which seems like such a long time.
So one thing I noticed about tanking in the Wildy, because I was AFKing so hard at Callisto because I just wasn't seeing anyone.
Yeah.
That I started to like not always log out when people would show up.
Yeah, no, I did that too. I always check to see.
I only died once, and the guy was like, I knew I was gonna die at a toxic staff, Aram's Serp helm on, like what I'd consider to be scary gear, claws, stuff like that. And he killed me because I had the Din's Bulwark on and Black D'hide. And instead of trying to just range me after he caught the freeze, he kept slinging barrages at me, because that was the most effective way to deal damage to me through the Dins. Because it's so tanky against melee and range. Whenever I saw like bad PKers, they basically would just sit there and rag range me and then try to spec me with the AGS whenever they could. But that didn't work. And this guy killed me because he kept maging me, and I was like, man, this thing is just eating right through me. these barrages. And I ran out of food right as I got to 30.
Oh, that sucks.
So yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting strategy, and that's going to be even more relevant when they nerf.
Oh, yeah, they haven't nerfed it yet, have they?
If they nerf the dins.
Yeah.
That's true. I guess it's a big
we're still not sure if that's coming or not.
But it was a cool strategy. I never really thought of it, and as he was sitting there just piling barrages into me, I was like, man, this is a good strategy. So definitely keep that one in mind if you're out there PKing.
Yeah, maybe bring some other mage tank. I don't even know what you would do there. Just out-eat it. Hope to out-eat it. Some crazy stuff there. But yeah, so last week we had we went through some of the hard modes that may or may not be coming to the game. It seems pretty polarizing. People have some different opinions on either side, but I wanted to hear your guys' opinions. You guys both raid. Heartless, you're an Iron Man. Magpies, you're like, you teach raids and stuff, so you're a pretty good raider. I've done the raids, but I'm just kind of like a casual raider, I guess you would say. But what are your guys' thoughts on both? We'll start with Theater of Blood, because they also brought similar things to Nightmare, or they're going to. At least they want to, I should say. But with Theater of Blood, they want to introduce a story mode, which is going to come with a quest as well, as I believe, but it's going to be basically an easy version of Theater of Blood with reduced loot, but also no uniques. And then they're going to introduce a hard mode, which is going to bring more loot, and it's going to have a better chance at uniques with, of course, a metamorphosis for your pet, or metamorphosis dust thing for your pet.
Yep.
So there's a whole lot of things there, but yeah, so what do you guys think? What was your thoughts when you first heard about that possibility?
About the hard mode or the story mode, or both?
I guess both,
because they're very separate. I think I don't know if Magpies would agree, but hard mode is pretty much like unanimously most people, especially in the top community, are pretty cool with it.
Okay, and it's the easy mode that people aren't cool with. You would say, Heartless?
No, not that they're not cool with it, but that's where people are divided.
Because I have seen people divided about hard mode as well. It's mainly the loot is what I've seen people worried about. The uniques loot is where
people are. I think people are worried that uniques, it will become the de facto way to do TOB because it will make the most money.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it will be like challenge modes where it's not actually better loot per hour. It's just gives you that chance at those special uniques where you can recolor your things or transmog your pet.
Yeah, I'm very, I wouldn't say I'm cynical, I'm just doubtful. Right now it's a 50-50 for me whether this is going to be a good update or not, because if it's executed right, it's definitely going to be a good update in my opinion, but I don't know if I have the faith in the Jagex team to kind of pull it off. They say that a hard mode is just, it's not going to be inflated stats like Chambers of Sarek challenge mode, which is exactly what we don't want. I really want to see a completely different kind of set of mechanics where ultimately I want it to be like a question mark if even great raiders were able to clear the raid. Like,
you want it to be like a new raid almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like where every room is a different challenge with different mechanics. And when I say different mechanics, I'm worried that what they're going to do is they're going to say it's going to be completely different mechanics, and all that's going to happen is they're going to spawn more stuff in each room, for example. Or for Bloat, he's just going to turn more. Or for the Nilo boss, it's just going to change forms faster. Like, I don't want to see that. I want to see something more. Like for Bloat, make it so that wherever the meat drops, it stays there forever. Like, make it so that, the room itself and how you navigate the room is completely different. Instead of just, okay, it's just going to add one extra phase for this battle or whatever. Because technically that is a new mechanic.
I agree with Magpies. I think the unfortunate thing is that we're desperate for content as endgame players, and the reality is it's probably just going to be like additional things like more crabs or more feet or things are going to go faster.
That's what I don't want to see.
Because it's an easy sort of stopgap to give us some satisfaction and something to grind towards, us being endgame players, while they come out with the next raids. That's my guess. So I think, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be that way, but I mean, we can have faith and hope. that things turn around. But I think the chances are that's not gonna be the case.
Yeah.
So you guys are most worried about how they're going to execute this new hard mode.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to make or break it?
Totally.
Because CMs was just all the rooms, extra health, more damage. It wasn't like anything special.
Yeah, that's fair. They've mentioned they're going to be bringing more mechanics, but yeah, that's a good point where it could be like half mechanics. Like it'll be really hard for them to bring out a new mechanic that's going to kind of counter the meta, but still make it fun and doable to do. Because I think that's would be a huge point, is like whatever mechanics come out, if it counters the current meta, it makes it so that it's a totally different fight now, where like, I don't know, maybe you can't barrage, I don't know, the little Nilokas at the beginning because there's some new thing that happens. I don't even know. But like, yeah, that's I guess that is a big question mark. You never really know with this sort of stuff.
And yeah, we're unfortunately not really going to until it comes out and we can assess it.
I just went back and checked the like announcement says they're going to change the very mechanics of each boss fight. That's like, I agree with Heartless. Like the biggest thing is the execution has to be on point. I don't want to see different mechanics. I want to see new mechanics. I don't want to see the same mechanics, but just modified, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
I think ultimately, big takeaways that, like Heartless said, we're starved for content. We want more content to be able to do. So if they just bring in a raid that's slightly harder, that's modified, but still the same flavor, it's not going to scratch that itch so much as like completely different metas will. That's what I'm hoping for. But again, I'm not sure that the Jagex team is going to be able to do that. I mean, I went back and I checked the difference between like an average month in 2009 versus the recent content drought that we've had, and it is night and day the relative like pace that Jagex has been working at. So
yeah, it's been a struggle for them for sure.
Yeah, it's strange. They have talked about it on a live stream, because I mean, you go into any live stream, people are like, where's our next big PvM content? And really what they mean is, where's the next raid? Because you bring out another nightmare, that's really not going to do the trick. Even stuff where it's like the gauntlet, which is great, I would have to say raiding is on a whole different level of PvM. Like it's almost separate from other bosses, because it's just like a type of content that people are going to enjoy more than God Wars 2.0 or something.
totally.
But we have been like, what, 3 years I think it's been since the last raid? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much. August will mark the 3-year anniversary of Theater of Blood, so.
And I think by the time we actually see raids 3, it'll be probably closer to 4 years, which to me that's like seems like insane, especially when like in most MMOs raiding is the big thing for many players. Like normally, I'm surprised that when Theater of Blood wasn't finished, you didn't have some people kind of drawing concept ideas for raids 3. I'm not saying get the content ready, but at least having some working ideas, so that when you're ready for it, you don't have to start, okay, guys, what are we going to do? We're 3 years since the last raid. We got to start from scratch.
Yeah, 3 years is far too long. Like I made my Iron Man like a year after Theater of Blood came out.
Yeah.
And now I'm already like 200 KZ at top, so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, I think we've sort of like beaten that horse enough, you know? Is that how the saying goes?
Now, going back to hard mode though, okay, so what about the hard mode loot and having an increased chance of uniques? What are you guys' thoughts of that? I know you kind of mentioned briefly that you don't want it to be like the de facto way to run a raid for money, but like, what are your thoughts about having increased unique chance?
It's hard to say. That's numbers based, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it should be. If it's a harder raid and it takes more time, then it should reward you with slightly better loot. But I think it should be like the challenge modes where you get a few extra 1,000 points. You know, a fraction of percentage more chance, and the raid itself gives you more rolls. So I'd be okay if it was like a slightly better chance. Was it currently 1 in? I can't remember. 1 in 11 for purple.
1 in 9.
Or is it 1 in 9?
Deaths.
Okay, so if it cranked up to 1 in 8, but the content was like way harder and took a little bit more time, then like that's kind of the level that I'd be interested.
See, I'd actually go in a different direction. Maybe like I would be fine with it going extremely common relative. Like I'd be fine with it being even like 1 in 5 or something. If the raid was like super hard to clear, Like what I'd like to see is a raid where even experienced players, like people with, like you said, several hundred KC who can do top with their eyes closed, walk in, and it's still question mark whether or not they can finish the raid. Like it shouldn't be a guarantee to.
It needs to be a big challenge. I think we're on the same page there. It needs to be a huge challenge.
So if that's the case, I don't mind. Like if it's like a 50% completion chance, then I don't mind it being double chance of flute, right? Because you're only going to be able to do half as many runs or something.
Exactly. And as long as regular Tob is going to be like better purples per hour, then I think that's probably okay. Because not like, let's be honest, Tob is very, very hard content for most players in the game. But once you have a few hundred KC under your belt, it becomes like kind of second nature.
Mm-hmm.
And really the only time you actually die or wipe is if, you know, someone makes a really bad mistake or or something like that, or you get like randomly stacked, which really doesn't happen very often. So yeah, having it much more like having to react to the content a lot more would be interesting.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with, which was, I guess it might be kind of obvious, but it still kind of surprised me with when I was watching a Cold One solo Theater of Blood, is how the patterns, some of them are so predictable, where I was watching him and I was like, oh my god, this is so intense. But other times you're like, oh, he's not going to screw this up unless he lags or disconnects. Like the pattern is so predictable that he can kind of do this with his eyes closed.
Yeah, it's kind of very gamey like that. Like out of all the bosses, I would say pretty much like you could say maybe only Maiden is one where you generally would take a lot of damage, or even Maiden and Verzik P3. Like Bloat you can do perfectly without taking any damage. Like Nilo boss, like there's a way to just like take 0 damage from the room by like stalling it with the door mechanic.
It's definitely those random factors that throw in the damage, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like the Nilokas during P3 is like about as deadly as Theater of Blood is going to get, which is like when she spawns the exploding crabs, where if you're like on top of them, they deal 45 to you. I would say that's as scary as it gets, which is why like we talked about a Cold One died to Corrupted Gauntlet, which is a lot more random than Theater of Blood, and it's so much more constant. Like it's a 3-4 minute boss fight where you know, one mistake during it can get you killed.
Yeah,
so.
It's true. And you don't always know what's coming or what the pattern is going to be, so you can't always.
You have to react the entire time, whereas Verzik, you kind of know what's going to happen for the most part.
So, okay, now with that being said, with the uniques, what are your thoughts on these hard modes and it being a common thing where we get a hard mode and it's going to come with new recolors for some of the equipment from it and like a pet transmog?
I kind of don't like it, to be honest. It kind of screams laziness. Like, I'd rather Jagex not milk the content dry for every single piece of content they come out with. Like, for Chambers of Xeric, it made sense because their whole reasoning was they want challenge mode to make the chambers on par with Theater of Blood, so to speak, so that very endgame players could have a variety of content, which made sense and it actually worked to that extent. But then you don't get that distinction for hard mode in Theater of Blood. That's just raising the bar to another level. Okay, I guess you could understand that, but it kind of becomes overkill, especially with the Nightmare revamp that they're doing now with Vazani's Nightmare or whatever, to where, are we just going to get a hard mode for everything now? Like, are we going to get a hard mode God Wars Dungeon next? You know, are we going to get hard mode Corp? It doesn't seem like any original ideas are being put out.
I agree with Magpie. It's definitely lazy, but with that being said, I think the pet transmog is so sick.
The pet one is, I like the pet one. I don't mind. For me, because they have some transmogs that are gonna be coming for your the scythe, the rapier, the sanguinesti staff. Like they got like a Saradomin variant now, and as cool as they look, I don't know why I wasn't super into that, and I think it's just because we have some of that now where, like, one thing that I like about RuneScape is like you can typically look at someone and be like, oh, this is their power level. But now they've introduced a lot more transmogs of different items. Like they have it with the Staff of the Dead, where it has like 2 new looks to it. And there's been a few times where I see someone with it, and I'm like, what weapon is that again? Like, how is that a strong weapon? Is that like a clue scroll item? I don't remember. And I worry with this common theme of having these new recolors that at some point it's going to be close to RuneScape 3, where you look at someone, you're like, I don't know if that's a clue scroll item that looks really cool, or if that's a recolor, or if that's just the default look of a new weapon that came out.
I see where you're coming from.
It might not be an issue, but yeah.
I think most people would almost most people in the game would agree that the most flex pet is the dusted omelet. So the one where you have the omelet and then you have the metamorphic dust. Magpies has it, by the way, so that you could transmog all the different rooms, and it looks so cool. There's a bunch of different sweet choices.
I take my squid with me wherever I go.
Yeah, it's such a cool pet, and very, very, very few people have it, because not only do you have to put a bunch of time in or get lucky on the omelet, but you also have to put a bunch of time in CMs, which, you need to have either be good at solos or have a team, and there's a lot of work that goes into getting that pet. But I think the same thing is going to be with the Theater of Blood pet. It's going to become that top tier, if not better than the dusted omelet, at least on par with it. And you're not going to see a ton. You're not going to see a ton of them. So I think for like people, pet hunting seems to be like, once you're maxed and you've done all the content, people kind of just pet hunt, because it's kind of a completionist goal that's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, I kind of wish that there weren't so many opportunities for transmog pets, just because, like, even as a pet hunter, I'm saying this just because it feels like we should have more rewards than just, hey, let's add something else that you have to grind hundreds of hours for on top of a pet grind that could take hundreds of hours.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But having like really niche ones like that I think are okay. So for the omelet specifically, and for like, what's he called, Lil Zik from Theater of Blood, Baby Verzik, I think those two are pretty cool, because then it gives you an option to have all the different pets from the rooms, whichever one you prefer. And it's kind of something that you can chase as an endgame player. You're right. They've been really hitting the transmogs hard, like Saragnus and Baby Mole, and everything has a transmog these days.
Yeah,
and a lot of those are basically just free. So
I don't know. Yeah, we are getting a lot of it, and it seems like we're getting a lot, but I guess only specifically. I guess there's not a whole lot you can kind of do. We have like the home teleport kind of different animations. We have wall colors for POH. We have pets. We have armors, and it seems like that's where we're stuck, and they're just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff in any of those directions. But as you said, they're safe to do, because that's a big one too. Is like a lot of they don't want to dedicate this time to come up with these ideas just for it to not fail a poll, because then that's a waste of time for like everyone. So
yeah, as we kind of mentioned, it's like sort of lazy design, and that's been a very common theme recently.
Yeah. Laziness or safe or both. They might see it as kind of both. And now, before we move on to the easy move at Theater of Blood, do you guys, and you kind of touched on it before, but do you guys worry that this is going to become a common trend where we get raids 3, and instead of giving us raids 4 the following year, they just give us raids 3 hard mode?
Yeah.
Like, do you think it'll delay PVM content, having it common that every raid and new PVM content is going to have a hard mode?
100%. And I don't mean this to, okay. I won't say no offense intended. Offense slightly intended, but Jagex is definitely looking for ways to milk the daylights out of the content that they put out now. Like, that's very clear to me right now. For better or worse, I can understand it. They're going through a content drought. I don't know, things are bad at creative. For whatever reason, they just need to kind of milk the content for as much as possible. So I am very certain that we're going to get Raids 3. It's going to come out with one type of pet, and then a few months they're going to introduce a poll blog for Raids 3, and they're probably not going to call it Challenge Mode or Hard Mode. They're going to come up with a completely different name this time, like they always do. Challenge.
Difficult mode.
Yeah, difficult modes. Raids 3 Revisited. Something like that. So it is what it is, but I'd like to see them actually come out with content as much. I mean, like, I mentioned this earlier, but did you know I went back and looked at a random month in 2009. I can't remember which month it was. I think it was November 2009. And in what is now RS3, back in 2009, they released 2 achievement diaries, 3 quests, one of which was a Grandmaster quest, and a complete skilling revamp in the space of a month. And I get that it's, the polling system kind of slows content down and things like that. But we have a bigger team now. You'd hope that they'd be able to at least do half of that in the span of a couple months. Not even like in a full month. Just take the time, to put out good content, but at least put out content,
I mentioned this earlier and I didn't really follow it up, but on a live stream they mentioned that part of the reason that I don't know how much I believe it or if it's just like a shitty situation, but they've mentioned how big the team has grown since the pandemic in March 2020 when that started, and they're also worried that when they go back to the offices that they're not going to have enough space for everyone, which sounds promising. You're growing the team, that should mean more stuff for us, but it's been over a year since the pandemic started, and they mentioned the reason why we're not getting more content is because they've spent time onboarding and training and getting people familiar with the code. I mean, a year seems like a really long time for people to still not be 100% in tune, but somebody made a really good point that in the Discord saying they think that some of the content that we've seen is a lot of the new devs learning the code. So like Temperos, it's kind of new, but really it's in a way it has a lot of Wintertod mechanics. So that's kind of safe for like a new developer to do. Shooting Stars was already in the game at some point. The Shades of Morton update and rework. I mean, nobody's cares too much about Shades of Morton. Like, we've been seeing some stuff like that. So yeah, someone mentioned that they think it's these new devs. This is their way of getting used to the code and getting used to creating content, because a lot of them are really easy.
So hard mode is like an extension of that, is what you're saying?
I guess it could be.
I could see that theory. I mean, personally, I'm confused that, like, I get that excuse where you get a whole team, you got to onboard them, and you guys got to this new dynamic everyone needs to get familiar with. But, for a whole year to pass, and we were not really even getting like a Raids 3 announcement. People think we're going to get a Raids 3 announcement in August, which still means we're going to be like 6 months off from at least possibly getting the content. Oh, I would assume if we do get it, the earliest would be like late fall.
Yeah.
Basically. Or like before Christmas, before they take their winter break.
That'd be cool.
That'd probably be my guess, or a month before, so that they have time to change it and adjust it and then go on their break.
And they could do that. They could say, hey, August, guys, we have a raid. Everything's planned. We have it all ready to go. Do you guys want it or not? I would be surprised if they took that approach, but you never know, I guess.
Anyways, I think overall hard mode I would give it thumbs up because it's better. I'd rather have content, even if it's going to be boring, than nothing.
That's what a lot of people are saying. It's better than not having anything else and just waiting.
Yeah, we all agree it's not ideal, but sometimes there's not much you can do about it.
So with hard mode being mentioned, what do you guys think about Theater of Blood story mode, as they're calling it?
So at first I was immediately the kind of gut reaction is like, no, why are they making content easier? But actually, I kind of like it. Here's what I would kind of hope for instead, though. I wish they would do it as a one-time quest kind of thing.
Like Vorkath, yeah.
Yeah, or if they want to do it like on repeat, then make it so that it's more of like a story experience rather than a piece of PvM content. Like, I would be fine with them changing the theater so it's more for people who are into lore to kind of explore the theater and kind of relatively speaking, breeze past the boss fights just to explore the actual idea of adventurers going into the theater and trying to fight for their freedom against Lady Verzuk or whatever the lore is. So I'm actually fine with it. If they put it as a quest, it should be pretty fun to be able to do even with friends, but I would like to see it be like a completely different experience, because that way I think even the high level players would get something out of it. Whereas right now it just seems like, okay, it's just an easier version of Theater of Blood for people who can't do the real thing yet. I would like to see it be more cinematic in such a way, like even add cutscenes in between the boss fights, things like that, which again, that's extra work, but I think it would make for a better experience.
There seems to be, so Magpies has made a good point there. There seems to be I took a poll of basically all the Theater of Blood players in RCC, or at least a good handful of them, to sort of see where everyone's ideas were at. And it seems to be split right down the middle. You have people that are against it. So the reason people would be against the easy mode would be because, Theater of Blood is the hardest raid in the game and it should remain difficult. Therefore, you shouldn't just be like spoon-fed away into the hard content. And also that hard content shouldn't be for everyone in the game. So not like in a gatekeepery way, but you need to progress to get to Theater of Blood. You can't just go and do it. So that seems to be one of the camps. And then the other camp is we're for the easy mode. And I actually noticed a lot of Iron Men are like pro for it. The reason being is you can't do Theater of Blood without friends, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can do something which is 416. So basically you can slog through learners, or you can go with a bunch of 0 KCers. But basically you're not allowed to join groups until you have 1 KC at Theater of Blood, which can be incredibly difficult, especially when you're slogging with people you don't know and are not on voice chat with. So it can be a really, really grueling process to learn the mechanics. So this would be a way for people to get into the mechanics of Theater of Blood so that they can more easily find groups to start to run the harder mode with. So basically people are for it because it's a stepping stone into theater for people who either don't have friends or clanmates. So that seems to be the reason I could see why people are for this content. And plus what Magpie says, as sort of like a lore / cinematic thing.
Yeah, they mentioned that they want to call it story mode. One, I think it's just easy mode, turns people off from it. But like, and then they said with story mode, they are going to focus more on the cinematics of it. And there will be a quest to go along with it, a night at the theater.
Yeah, the quest seems really cool. Like, in fact, I think I know there was Darkness Foul Veil, but I really like the idea of a quest coming with raids. I think that probably should have been there a long time ago.
Agreed.
So I'm not like against the quest in any way, nor do I'm saying like for or against easy mode, but I will say that the first night I ever ran Theater of Blood with a bunch of 0 KCers, they're all friends of mine. It was me, Weesnaw, some guy, and 40 IQ. We were all 0 KC, and we just cracked a bunch of beers and sent it. It's probably the most fun I've ever had playing RuneScape. That one specific night, because the content was hard as hell. After we all were like fairly good at Chambers of Xeric, we all had, pretty good gear, and we get to the theater and we're like, man, this is a challenge, and that's what made it exciting. So, I wouldn't want to erase that for people if easy mode comes in, because that's some fun gameplay. But then I see people who don't have a friends group that want to learn Theater of Blood, and they have to slog it out with people who have 0 KCs or Venezuelans with 0 KCs, or you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have that sort of social network of RuneScape friends, then, or teach, like nowadays, if you're in the Wild CC and you want to learn how to top, it's pretty easy because there's tons of us that do it, and we'll just take learners. But not all clans and groups of players are sort of at that level.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I see who the content is aimed at.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, again, it all comes down to their execution. I think that's the big one, is that Jagex is so they can execute content that's like really, really good and really, really cool and very cinematic, or it can be just like bare minimum text. You just spacebar through it. But I agree with you guys with story mode. I'm okay with it if they can make it, give me some cutscenes. Give me like my character walking into the theater and having a bunch of people, cheering and maybe throwing rotten tomatoes at my character if they don't like it. And, I want cutscenes for every single room of like when I'm approaching it, like it's an actual stadium event that people are coming out to watch me for. That's the idea behind it.
Here's what I would love, and I'll like break it down extremely specifically, but my ideal Theater of Blood story mode, if I cared enough, if I had the energy and the motivation, I would probably like send this on Twitter to like Mod Ash or something. But long story short, you have Theater of Blood story mode that you can go in. There's a bunch of cutscenes as you go in that like describe what you're about to get into, and you're going to go fight for your freedom for Lady Verzik or whatever, take part of this challenge. You go into Maiden. In Maiden, no Niloka spawn. It's just a super simple version of the fight where she's just attacking you and throwing blood sometimes. You finish that. You get another small cutscene. You go into Bloat. There's no falling meat anywhere. You just have him turn around. You finish that. You go into Nilokas. There's like only half of the Nilokas. Like every other wave spawns only, and the pillars have way more health. Then you go into Sodaseg where you don't have the orbs. You just have like melees and the maze to do. And then Yeah, you go into Zarpus. Zarpus doesn't throw like residual acid, and then his P3 doesn't like do reflective damage when you attack him when he's looking at you.
It doesn't one-shot you.
Yeah, the reason why is because like I'm thinking of these mechanics, and I kind of want story mode to be a situation where it's like you can do it and you kind of get a feel for like the lore behind Theater of Blood, but like Heartless said, you don't lose the oh shit factor of going in for the first time as a learner and being like, wow, this is tough. Like this is definitely a step up from Chambers or whatever. Because like it's not gatekeeping to want people to experience that challenge for themselves, I don't think.
I don't want to deprive that from people. It's like the opposite of gatekeeping. It's like I want people to have as much fun as I did that one specific night.
Yeah, it's a really fun experience. And for Jagex to give people a dumbed down version of the content so they can pretty much master it before they go in would be a travesty, because they would lose out on that experience and that novelty. So what I'm thinking is like strip down all the difficult mechanics that you have to kind of learn and get used to, so that when you do go in, you go, holy shit, we were not prepared for this, even when doing story mode.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
that
still
way,
want it to be a challenge, absolutely.
exactly.
But everything is sort of has that safety blanket where everything has a little more health, like the pillars, so you don't get as hard punished for your mistakes, so you can make more and still slog it through the raid. But yeah, you definitely want to keep the challenge there. I really like your idea, Magpies.
I would even go as far as to say, let story mode be like a solo experience.
I think that's also another thing, is they want it to be something that you could do solo, and it's going to have scaling for team size, so that you just do it by yourself if you want to.
I would say if you're going to go like a story mode, then like I don't know. I don't know if it's even a good idea to add rewards to it. Let it be content that people do for the quest.
It should have 0 rewards, because you want people to basically learn the mechanics. I think the whole idea of story mode is you want people to lose that horrible learning experience that some people have if they don't have friends. So you can learn the mechanics, and then you can more easily start to slog through the difficult, more like whatever we call standard Theater of Bloods. Magpies, what was your learning experience like for Tob?
I went into 416 to start with. I met one of my closest buddies there. His name is Noobtype. I think he's still in the Discord. And basically, we met up in Actually, that's not true. So the first time I learned Theater of Blood, I went in there with Deegan and another of our friends, and he references this way back in another episode where he talks about how we were all in different time zones. I was on the West Coast. He was, I think, in East Coast time, and our friend was like in Australia time. And so for a golden 2 hours every day, I would come home from work and we would get on and try to get through Theater of Blood. And I still have some of the videos saved from us trying to get through it. And every day we'd get past a different
challenge.
Yeah, a different gate for us. So at first, I think our first brick wall was Nilokus that we were trying to do in a trio. And then our second one was Sodaseg. And then we got past Sodaseg and we got to Verzik. And that was another big kind of wall. And then after that, I met a buddy on 416 after Deacon started to run out of the game. And he was the first person I kind of experienced that, let's grind this out together. And we kind of spent the entire summer doing trio raids with another buddy. So I very much got that, let's learn from scratch. I mean, myself, Deegan, and my other friend, we went in there without any desire to be taught or without any reference to, higher level players, because we wanted to learn it for ourselves. And it was so much fun, even though we burned through a ton of money, a ton of supplies. That was still the most fun in Theater of Blood. So I totally agree with you. You don't want to lose that experience.
Absolutely. And that would be what I think I'd be concerned about for easy mode. Not that I'm against it. I just don't want it to just take everything away. Because that was a great night.
I totally agree with that.
So at Verzik, P1 is fairly easy. You can follow a guide and get through it as a group of noobs. And we were almost able to on our first night together. But P2 is really where personally things step up. So if you are going to change, you need to keep the mechanics the same at P2 for Verzik and easy mode. And you need to be getting punished for making mistakes there. Because if you learn improperly or mess up too much, then when you actually go to standard Tobs, you're just going to get actually one shot. Because if you screw up, P2 basically is you have to hit Verzik And if you're on the wrong tile at the wrong time, she will bounce you, and then you'll get shot out. You'll get hit with one of her cabbages that she chucks at you. And then if it happens to be when she spawned the exploding bomb crabs, the Nilos, you'll die. There's basically no two ways about that. So that still needs to be a part of P2, I think, for quote easy mode.
So yeah, anyways, I'm glad you guys kind of weighed in on that, because it's, yeah, a lot of people have different opinions, and there's good and there's bad stuff, and I agree where, like, raiding, I think the important part about having different raids is it gives a lot of lower levels something to look forward to and something to get excited for, to level up their account and whatnot, and you don't want to... That's why I think Raids 3 is so important, to give something to get excited for. Like, that's a big pull for a lot of MMOs, is these big end game pieces of content that are nothing like anything that comes before it. So I think that's super important. So anyways, I'm glad you guys weighed in on that. But Magpie, I think you have to go soon, don't you?
Unfortunately, I have to dip a little bit early, get some more errands done, hopefully get back to resting up. But thank you for having me, and I look forward to being back for more, and hopefully on a more regular schedule.
With Magpies leaving now, what do you say we head into the news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so not a whole lot of news going on this week, but we did get a release date for A Kingdom Divided. It is coming out in June of 2021, so in a couple weeks from now. Heartless, have you had a chance to listen or watch the trailer for it?
I have not, so this will be all you.
Oh, no problem. I'm going to play it now. It's about a minute long, but man, they did such a cool job with it. I'll quickly say, there's not really a whole lot of visuals. It's just kind of pictures and text showing up on like a worn scroll, just like an old looking scroll. But the voice acting is amazing. So I'm going to play that real quick and let's listen to it.
My name is Martin Holt. I have dedicated my entire life to serving the kingdom of Great Karen. Under the Council's rule, we've supposedly enjoyed nothing but harmony and prosperity for decades. But I know better. I can see it. I can feel it. This age of so-called peace is reaching its end, and I fear for what comes next. Ever since the last king died and his heir disappeared, the law of the Council has become progressively unjust, corrupt, broken. Those whom we've entrusted this once great kingdom to have become the ones we dread the most. They threaten the very foundations of all that we've built. And until the monarchy is restored, we will protest, we will rebel, and we will have justice. Great Korenz will be a kingdom divided no more.
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, well, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it seems interesting. Karen seems to be one of those places where they've never fully expanded the lore, so it's nice to have the Kingdom Divided coming through right now.
Yeah, I think they did such a good job with that little trailer there. It when this quest was coming out, I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. It's gonna be neat. I like the lore on Zaya. It's interesting. You know, they had a fresh slate with that continent, so they could do whatever they want with it. But then I saw this trailer when they played it, and I was like, I'm so excited for this quest now. That trailer made it seem so much more intense and epic. I guess maybe I just didn't think too much about it beforehand, but there's all this conflict between the houses and just Karen in general, and then you have the Varlamore, which is supposed to be another warring kingdom to the south. So a lot of conflict going on there, but it seems really cool. I think we're looking at a master level quest, so it's not going to be a completely easy, but it's should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, I think, and it's probably setting up for a Grandmaster quest, which will eventually finish off that southern part below Mountain Quinamortum, below Raids 1.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with you there. I think this is all just setting up, because we got these quests for each of the houses that were kind of giving a little bit of backstory and a little bit of I guess, conflict, you could say, that was going on with each house. And now with the kingdom divided, we're really seeing it's not about each individual house, but it's about the whole kingdom as a whole, which is definitely going to lead into some more drama. So looks pretty cool. I'm pretty excited for it. So they have a quick little blurb here to go along with that the trailer, and it says, Great Kurend, a land of wealth, comfort, and security. Across its 5 cities, the people of this kingdom work to bring peace and prosperity. However, all is not as it seems. Beneath this delicate facade lies an uncomfortable truth. The kingdom of Great Kurend is a kingdom divided. Since the death of the last king, Great Kurend has been ruled by the Kurend Council. Under the watchful gaze of the council, Kurend has enjoyed a golden age of progression. But not all of its citizens are happy, and spurred by the recent arrest of Councillor Sophia Hughes, allegations of corruption are growing. However, the political games of the council may be the least of Kurend's concerns. A darker power is gathering in the kingdom, one that could change the face of Gielinor forever. So it's seems pretty good. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of room for some really great storytelling in this now growing quest line. So I am I'm looking forward to it. Looks cool.
For all the not hate, but all this sort of concerns we have with Jagex surrounding like PvM and content updates, I have to say I really have loved their quests that they've released over the recent years. Song of the Elves, fantastic. Even the mini quests are very fun. They really do. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm expecting some pretty good writing from it.
Yeah, definitely. And the questing system is what really makes I don't know if you want to call it ironic, but it really makes RuneScape stand out in a lot of ways, even though a lot of people skip over the quests and just kind of ignore them and breeze through it. But it's one of my biggest
really
regrets
cool.
has been skipping through all the dialogue, because I've recently the reason I made an Iron Man was for the most part to go back and read through all the quest dialogue and to...
Yeah, that's fair. I see where you're coming from. I actually have Quest Cape on both my accounts, or I did before the new quest came out on my old main.
Yeah, okay.
And I enjoyed all the quests both times for the most part, especially any of the longer ones. They're always really fun. Even if you blast through, you can still kind of get a gist of what's going on.
Yeah, you might miss some background information or some history or the lore of the lore.
A lot of people really hate questing and they find it, tedious. But for me, it's something that makes old school really unique, and I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah, one thing I found too when I was doing the new quest is when I kind of learned this, but kind of like what you guys are saying with Theater of Blood, where you don't want to take away somebody having to struggle when they're learning. You want them to kind of have a hard time with it because it'll be memorable and it's some of the most fun. When I do quests, I tend to, well, now that I have my quest cape, I do the quests usually on day 1 release or the first week. And I don't use a quest guide. They're not always available. And that's some of the most fun I've had when it comes to this game as well, is like trying to beat a quest, not having a quest guide and having to kind of problem solve on your own and trying to figure out some of the riddles and some of the puzzles without having, a wiki page to tell you move this here and move this there. I've had a lot of fun with that. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one because that'll be fun to do.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. Yeah. No issues. The more quests they release, I'm pretty happy if they do it quite often. Every 3 months or so seems to be there.
Yeah. Not many people hate on the quests.
No, it's sometimes the rewards.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, the Arceus spellbook needed to be changed.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be it's got some cool utility spells. Hopefully they have their uses someplace. I guess we'll have to see. But speaking of the spellbook rework, so these are the requirements and rewards that you'll be getting from this quest. If you want to keep all this unspoiled, then maybe skip ahead 5 minutes or so. But here, we'll go through it. So you need to get all of the precursor Great Kurend quests done. So that's the Client of Kurend, X Marks the Spot, Depths of Despair, Queen of Thieves, Ascent of Arceus, Forsaken Tower, Tale of Righteous, and Architectural Alliance. So those are all the pre-Zaya quests you got to get done. So if you haven't done them yet, might be a good chance to go do them now. You also unlock a bunch of favor beforehand and skip some of that early grind, which helps a lot. It's a huge help. as far as skills go, they're nothing too crazy. 54 agility is the highest you'll need. 35 magic, 38 crafting, stuff like that. Pretty middle of the road stuff. Some of the lower end requirements. And the rewards you'll be getting are 2 quest points, 10,000 experience lamp, new Arceus spells for the spellbook. You'll be able to respawn at the Krend Castle, and you'll get 20 additional Kurtz Memoirs charges. Kurtz? It's one of those words. But you know what I mean. That little book you get. So nothing crazy there, but some cool stuff. The Arceus spellbook will be neat.
Upgrading the Kardas Memoirs is massive. Currently, it only holds 40 charges, and it's so annoying.
Yeah. You always got to... And you have to go run to some random statue and give it some runes to charge it.
Because people were like, "Oh, why do you use it?" You use it for if you're doing master clues to teleport to Watson, basically.
True.
Unless there's a teleport on the achievement diary cape, I don't think there is. I don't know. I don't have one.
I don't think so.
Not yet.
So. Yeah, and it's good for teleporting to, like, when I was doing anglerfish, I was always using it to teleport to the docks there.
It's got some great teleports on it, and 40 charges is really low.
Yeah, and Zaya is such a massive continent that it's nice to be able to teleport to a few extra spots. So, of course, with this release of a new quest, they are bringing out 2 competitions for us to participate in. So the first one, as usual, is the login screen design challenge. So you'll need to design a new login screen that will be featured with this quest. And if you win, well, these are what the finalists will win. So first place gets £200 Amazon voucher and 12 months of membership. Not too bad. Second place gets £100 Amazon voucher and 6 months of membership. And third and fourth place gets £50 Amazon voucher and 3 months of membership. So that's how much is £200 Canadian?
Canadian, it's almost double. I think it's like 1.8.
Yeah. Okay. So $340. Not bad. So that's decent. And the second competition is, of course, the Story So Far video challenge. So you'll have to create a quick video. Say how long? It does not say how long. You'll have to make a video kind of explaining some of the past lore, summing up everything that's happened on the Great Krend in a video for people to watch. And similarly, first place is 200 Amazon voucher, 12 months. Second place, 100, 6 months. Third and fourth is 50 and 3 months. There are some specific requirements that you'll need to adhere to. So you'll have to go onto a forum thread they have to get more information on that. But one thing that we've seen in the past is it can be a parody video, and you could, if it's done well enough, it will win. Actually, that might even give you bonus points if you can make it, pretty funny to watch. So with that being the dev blog of the week that we got, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we have we have an email to go through, and we'll wrap up with Song of the Week. So we'll be right back. Okie dokie, that's right. It's about that time in the show where we take a quick break to tell you how you can support the show. If you want to. No obligations, but it's there for the people that want to support the show. I truly, truly appreciate the people who do. So, probably the best way you can support the show is by going to patreon.com/TheWildernessPodcast. And we have a few different tiers that you can select from that have different rewards linked to it. So, if you want to support the show and you're on Patreon and some of the rewards look more appealing to you, hey, it might be worth checking out. And depending on the tier you pick, part of the rewards might be getting a episode or episodes dedicated to you. So I want to dedicate this episode to Mr. Ted's, and I also want to dedicate it to our elite supporters, Aiden A, Gentinu, Grunkle G, Splimo, and Aldo P. So guys, thank you so much for your support. Really, it's amazing. But you know what? Patreon's not the only thing we got going. Some people don't want to sign up for a monthly subscription. I totally get it. But if you still want to show your love and support the show in another way, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz, where you can make a one-time donation instead. So I want to thank Timbuktu25, Dr. Feelgood or Mistborn, One Big PP, Feminlet, Mr. Showers, Rowdy Pickle, God of Thunder, Salamander, and Grunkle G for supporting the show via buying me a coffee. Guys, it means a lot to me, and I truly do appreciate it. The support has been, it's overwhelming sometimes. It's amazing. So thanks to everyone who has supported us in the past. Thanks to everyone who is currently supporting us. Thank you to the people who support us in the future. But also thanks to everyone who is listening now. If you're not supporting the show, but you're still listening to this basically advertisement in the middle, right? So thank you for continuing to listen each and every episode. All right, let's get to the end of this bad boy. So thanks again. Okay. Alrighty, we're back. And we got a email from Mr. Matacause1, the one with the questions. And he says, hello, my favorite scapers. A question came to me the other day when Dilz was talking about enjoying game dialogue and music during the quests. I guess going back when we were talking about some of the good quests that came out, I always tell people, if you're going to be doing Dragon Slayer 2 for the first time, play it with the music on, because there's a section there where music kicks in and it's such an epic moment. The music helps a lot with the atmosphere of the one area. It's really great. So he says, what old school RuneScape quest would make the best live action film adaptation? And so he says, I would personally have to go with Underground Pass. However, it might have to include Plague City and Biohazard to make sense as well. I'm imagining an adaptation similar to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Of course, when the film is a mega hit, the sequel telling the tale of the rest of the elf story can be made. So Heartless, is there any quest that comes to mind? If you were to choose a quest to make it into an actual movie, is there any quests that come to mind for you?
This put me on the spot here. I mean, I don't know. Is there any? You go first. You go first.
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind for me is like Dragon Slayer 2. Now, there's a lot of very epic parts of that, and I think you could kind of get away with not having to have Dragon Slayer 1 be integral to the story. You can maybe get away with it, similar to how like Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit came first, but that came after the actual movies. They just did the trilogy. So you might be able to get away with that. And I think there's some really epic parts of the movie that would be great. But on the same hand, it's such an epic storyline that it might have to be something that has movies to lead up to it to really give it that satisfaction. Yeah,
you're not wrong there. What about a kids movie based on a Cold War, the Penguin one?
That's a good idea. That's not bad. I like that. That's a different
angle there, hey?
yeah, that's cool. We just me and my girlfriend watched the Aladdin remake last night, the live action Aladdin movie. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
A lot of people when it first came out, I saw a lot of people like kind of shitting on it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, whatever. And I didn't really care too much about watching it, but I watched it and I was like, it was a really fun movie to watch. I was surprised by how much I liked it.
I mean, especially kids movies, they don't have to just be amazing cinema, Not every movie is going to be as classic as like, I don't know, Bug's Life or some of the other legendary kids movies out there. But I mean, it's okay to just be fun, in my opinion. Especially as someone who spends a lot of time with 9 and 10-year-olds.
Yeah, fair enough.
If fun is just is okay. Like we read have you heard of the book The One and Only Ivan before?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's basically about this told from the perspective of a gorilla who's like in captivity. It's a really, really good book. I think I've literally mentioned on the podcast before, but we watched the movie in class and the kids just loved it. They all were like, that's the best movie I've ever seen. And it was like a very average film.
True.
But it was just had some
sad?
fun parts.
That sounds like a sad movie or book.
It's deeply sad, yeah. Especially as an adult, it's deeply upsetting. But as a kid, it's more like just showing them about like animal rights and stuff like that, and like how they're sort of treated. And like I think the main point of it is to like think about zoos, like the difference between like a good one, like a sanctuary, and like a zoo just for entertainment, just locking up animals so we could look at them.
Yeah,
so it's definitely to like get them to sort of ask questions, and I think that's the best kind of kids media.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's pretty cool. So I like your idea with was it a Cold
War. It's also
War.
so funny if I recall correctly. You got to do like a little agility course and pretend to be a penguin. Yeah, I like that idea. I think that could be really fun.
Yeah. And you go to like the sheep pen and these two penguins who are doing like
Yeah.
recon.
It's pretty. The whole thing is just very funny. So, and if you remember as a kid watching the movie is it Happy Feet?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
About the penguin who danced. I just remember that one being enjoyable when I was a kid. So
Oh no, I haven't seen that one, but
I don't know if it's actually a good movie or not. But when I was a kid, I liked most movies. So
yeah, fair enough. But
what's your favorite kids movie of all time that you remember from your childhood?
Emperor's New Groove. I think I have to say for sure.
Emperor's New Groove. That's a good one. And would you just watch it over and over and over again?
Yeah, and like I've seen it like recently too. I watched it, and it's so goddamn funny. But what's your favorite like childhood movie?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I honestly can't even think of any that I watched all the time right now.
Monsters Inc. was a good one too. Me and my girlfriend watched that. We've been on a bit of a Disney kick. 'Cause we got Disney Plus. We were like watching through all the movies. Monsters Inc. is super funny too. It still holds up. Like I can watch it, just me and her, and enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember watching stuff like Toy Story.
Oh yeah.
I loved Toy Story. Couldn't go wrong with any of those. Incredibles. I was a big fan of that one as well when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Do you remember like the family that's like superheroes?
Yeah, I remember that one too. That was good.
It's funny because like something you find out about kids is they really like to consume the same content over and over.
Oh yeah.
And if you're like a parent or like you're onlooking, you're like, that's like weird. They just watch the same movie and they love it still. That's because like children really like the idea of predictability. So like knowing what's coming up makes you feel very satisfied, especially in developing brain. So that's it's really interesting. So if your kids just watch the same movie over and over again, like don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
That's interesting. That makes a lot of sense. I think that's why, I think a lot of like kids content, some of it can be very like when I was a kid, I used to love the Captain Underpants series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just read the same books over and over again because it's like
they're all so similar. Every book is the same almost.
It's comforting, it's predictability, and that makes your brain feel like very good.
Mm-hmm. And even cartoons where like a lot of kids cartoons, I'm sure if like you're an adult and you were go back and watch whatever show you watched as a kid, you're gonna be like, holy crap, it's the same premise every time.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually gonna show the kids Avatar at lunchtime coming up soon for like because there's only 6 weeks of school left. Like The Last Airbender. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but I have so many people telling me to watch it, and I just haven't.
One of my favorite shows of all time, and it still really holds up.
People say that
even today. It's honestly fantastic. There's so much great character development and a nice variety of characters. It's funny. It's got good lessons in it. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with Avatar, man. I've seen it a few times myself. I showed my girlfriend it, and she loved it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to show that to them, so they should like it.
That's cool. Yeah. Oh, are you gonna do like a TV day or TV movie night?
Well, usually what I do is I read books to them at recess and at lunchtime.
Okay.
So we've read 7 novels this year,
Wow.
which is pretty good actually. Yeah. Reading out loud is a whole different skill, by the way. I was terrible at it in the first month. We started with Matilda, so something really easy, and then we started to like ramp up to more like slightly more challenging books.
Reading out loud is super tough. I when I was like streaming, I was like, in my streams, I'm gonna voice act all the quests, and then I try to do it, and I constantly, I'm gonna start again. I would like get tongue tied, I get twisted up, and I was like, am I dyslexic? Is that text for this game like terrible text for readability, or is like just reading out loud also really hard to do?
Yeah, it is tough. It's definitely a skill, but once you've done. I know once I'd made it through the first book, it became significantly easier, and it's actually quite a good teaching tool, reading out loud, because you can show the difference to like tone. Because kids often when they read, they just read at the same tone.
Oh yeah,
there's no like change in pitch or anything like that, so it could be good to model that too. But anyways, once in a while, I stick on a TV show.
That's smart,
especially at lunchtime. So
on a Friday.
Yeah, I usually do it like the couple weeks before a break. So we watched a show called Hilda, which is on Netflix. It's pretty fun kids show before Christmas. and then we watched it before Halloween, and then we watched it again before Christmas. I can't remember exactly. And then I showed them this other one called Over the Garden Wall, which is also pretty fun.
Huh, interesting.
But yeah, and we're gonna watch Avatar for the last month, I guess.
Solid. We're gonna binge watch every season.
We'll watch one episode a day. They always want a second one. I'm like, nah, sorry. Once in a while, if it's Friday, I'll let them do a second. But
keep them wanting more, and then you can assign them homework. And how much fun would homework? Imagine you like assign people. It's like, I'm gonna assign you homework. You got to play RuneScape, and you got to do a little write up on a skill. Like that'd be so much fun to grade.
Yeah, go run agility laps for me of the RD course, please.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, that's good.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but the problem is because they just get them from Netflix, usually the shows. So we started watching Hilda in class. Immediately, some of them went home because they enjoyed the first episode, watched the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome. That sounds cool.
But then again, watching it again is like not an issue for them, like it would be for an adult. Like if we went to watch a movie for a second time, we're like love that movie, you wouldn't want to watch it again. But kids just don't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
They just send it. So there you go. Fun facts of the day.
Sweet. So yeah, that's some good stuff. So anyways, going back to Matt Acosta's question, that was a awesome question.
Yeah, thanks for that one.
Yeah, I think there's a lot you can do. I think obviously, who knows, it probably wouldn't perform well. RuneScape's got a bit of a stigma. It's great for some people. Other people are like, if it's RuneScape related, I don't care for it. I think even World of Warcraft, they came out with a movie and what happened? I have no idea what happened to it.
It was garbage, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's what I heard, anyways. But I haven't actually seen it. I've been meaning to watch it, but
I forgot it existed until this topic here. But
there's a League of Legends TV series coming out on Netflix.
Really,
an animated one. Yeah,
I used to love their cinematics they would do. Like I think they have like 2 out.
Yeah, they're high budget. They're fantastic.
So sick. Some of them are awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot more than 2. There's a whole bunch of them now.
Oh, really? Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, the animated series is about like Vi and Jinx.
Oh,
probably
cool.
Other people from the Zon, which is kind of like the dystopian city world. So yeah, that should be pretty cool.
That sounds pretty awesome.
But Jinx is a very well loved character.
Yeah.
She was actually terrible in League for so long because. Also, fun fact about League here, just because of the way her character is designed, she doesn't really have any unique mechanics. She doesn't actually have any gap closers, so basically she can't like dodge things. You just have to run. But she does, like if she gets a lot of gold, she's really busted.
Yeah.
So they basically forced her into the meta over the last 6 months, from what I'm hearing from my friends. So they just juiced her up, all her stats. So now she's like basically the most popular AD carry. Which of course makes sense because there's a TV show coming out about her.
True, gotta capitalize.
How they buff their champions in that game.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Ari was one that was like a fan favorite.
Oh, she's always strong though. Like there's certain characters that they always release skins for that they try to make powerful at all times. Mm-hmm. Like Ari, Lux, basically any of the girl characters, and then Yasuo as well is another like well loved character that they try to keep pretty strong.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh boy, good old League of Legends.
Yeah, anyway, we seem to like bring it up all the time. It was such a big part of my life. So anyways, I'll shut up about League now.
Yeah, I did that with a lot of games too, and then it's like, because it was a lot of times like, it was such a big part of my life. And if I wasn't playing RuneScape, I would definitely be doing that with other games. If I was playing like, I don't know, Albion, which is another MMO game, I played that for a little bit. And a lot of times I was like, oh, this is how this is like RuneScape, and this is how this isn't like RuneScape. And I was always comparing the two.
Yeah, and it's very hard for me to play other games now that aren't like League was very MMO, and then it wasn't MMO, but it was like competitive, and this is MMO, and I enjoy them both.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend and I bought Resident Evil: The Village last night, so the new one that just came out.
Oh, cool.
She really likes horror games, and we played for about 2 hours. And it was fun, but the gameplay is like very slow. It's all like story based, which is it's cool once in a while, but it's definitely not my style of game.
Yeah,
I prefer like the action.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have this weird paradox with RuneScape where like I'm like, oh, there's so many games I want to play, but because I don't have a lot of time to play these story driven games, I want to play RuneScape, which is a game that takes thousands of hours sometimes to really, if you want to quote unquote beat the game, it's endless. So it's like I don't have enough time to play all these single player games. So I spend my time playing a game that like virtually you can never finish.
I know what you mean, but it feels like you've done something in the hour for me anyways.
Yeah, no, and I think the thing is the paradox comes in where it's like that doesn't really make sense. But also like with RuneScape, you can spend 10 minutes every single day playing your account, and you're never gonna have to worry about coming on one day and it's like, oh, RuneScape 3 is out. Your character's wiped. You're starting over again. Like, I mean, RuneScape 3 is out, but with like Destiny, I played Destiny 1 a shit ton. Destiny 2 came out, and your character, you could port it over to the new Destiny 2, but all your gear and stuff was gone. You had to start fresh again.
Yeah,
that can be frustrating.
Tough, especially if they're like online games like that, which is why whenever I go reach for a game that isn't RuneScape, I'll pick a non-online game.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, anyways, we sort of gone on about games now for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun though. I like to talk about this kind of stuff.
It's same.
It's always good. Have you ever played Celeste?
I've heard of it. No, I know of it though. I heard it's really good and it looks really cool.
It does look cool. I picked it up recently in Gris as well, or Gris. I don't know how you pronounce it, but they're kind of like platformy games. Yeah, sort of something interesting that I might try on the side.
Yeah.
But I'm loving RuneScape, so that's basically all I do when I log into my computers.
I like RuneScape. It's great when I want to catch up on like, I can play it while I'm like working on other things, or if I want to watch YouTube and I can have this going on the side. I can't really watch YouTube videos if I'm playing like Fallout 4, which is a game I've been booting up again recently. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
It's also social. It's where all my friends are.
Yeah.
Are in RuneScape. So
yeah, exactly, and it's that you get that factor too, especially
during the pandemic when I haven't been able to see my friends for multiple years now.
Yeah.
It's nice to have like a group of friends that I can come back to.
Yeah, it's a good space for that. So anyways, yeah, thanks again, Matacos1. There's so much. I hope they bring out a single player game for RuneScape one day where we can dive into some other lore. The reason I say this is because they released a survey like 2 or 3 years ago asking a lot of questions about that, but so we'll have to see. Okay, anyways, guys, if you want to send in your questions or tell us anything, really, whatever it is, you can email us at TheWildernessPodcast, TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to hang out in game, it's WildCC. We have a Twitter at TheWildernessRS, which will have the Discord pinned on Twitter, but you can also find it in the description of this episode as well. So that's another way you can come join the Discord. And if you want to participate on bingo and any stuff like that, Discord's the place to be for that. I think that's about it. I stream randomly, don't quite got a schedule, but you can, if you want to see that, it's twitch.tv/thedilz. Heartless, you got anything to I know you don't usually have anything to plug, but I think it's customary to ask.
Nope, come join the Discord. That's where you get to join fun events like bingo. I know we brushed over it fairly quick at the beginning, but it honestly was fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people loved it. It was like a week of that's what people focused on. Whatever goals you have going on, they gotta wait because now you got new goals for a week to complete. And yeah, people had a lot of fun. A lot of people, you were able to meet some other people in the Discord. Get more familiar with who's hanging out in the clan chat. We had separate voice chats for each team, and I was browsing, and there was like always people hanging out in some of the different voice chats. Sometimes people would just hang out and just turn off they don't feel like talking, but they'll stream their screen so people can watch. A lot of cool stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely come join the Discord. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you have a song of the week for us?
Let's go. Since Matacos mentioned Dragon Slayer 2 in the music, let's throw on a tune from Dragon Slayer 2.
Oh, right.
Now we have to find one, Dilz, and then we can cut this part out.
Yeah. We will do... Oh, let's do Oncoming Foe. So this is from Dragon Slayer 2, and it says this is unlocked during the 4th phase of the Naval Assault. Amazing stuff. So we're going to listen to this. Quick note. Man, I've been drinking this water, and I pulled it out of my cupboard, and now I got a bunch of shit floating around at the bottom of this water cup. Do you ever get that?
That is not... No, that's not ideal.
Yeah,
no, I clean my cups, Dilz.
I normally do. I must have missed this one.
Maybe just was sitting in the back too long and collected dust.
No, these are weird. Like, I don't know what this is. We'll see. Hopefully I'm fine. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
See ya.